Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse Cugliata, and I'm our Industry Director for Life Sciences at Qlik. And I'm pleased to be sitting here today with two phenomenal Qlik partners, Joel Ween, Regional Manager of Infozone, and Joe Warbington, Senior Director of Industry Solutions at Vizlib. And today we're going to be talking about how you can leverage advanced visual analytics to drive smarter engagement for your commercial teams.
And when we think about the life sciences industry, we're actually seeing a number of events that indicate a rapidly accelerating digital revolution in this space. In fact, if we look at some recent news, there's a landmark clinical trial happening right now, and it can be very disruptive in the industry. Now, you might be asking yourself, why potentially is a clinical trial disruptive? Traditionally, these things are slow, often drawn out events where participation rates can be as low as 5%, dropout rates can be around 30%. Many of them never even achieve the right enrollment to get off the ground, and those that do often can take much longer than originally planned to meet some of those targets. So what we're actually seeing right now in this recent news that we're talking about is a study that improves upon all of these metrics by double-digit amounts. It's going to run on over 150,000 participants, and all the patients have to do is strap on a watch. In fact, many of us might even be potential participants right now. For those in the know, you'll know that I'm talking about the new Heartline study being run by Johnson & Johnson in conjunction with Apple. And unlike previous observational atrial fibrillation studies, or AFib, the patients no longer have to request a special device or call a physician if they receive certain alerts through the watch itself. Rather, this is all done through an app on the watch where they simply have to select a particular setting when they receive an alert. Now, while the results of this study are yet to be determined, it's emblematic of the type of disruption that digital technology holds for this industry. In fact, there are a number of innovations having similar impact. Last year, the FDA approved the first digital medication, Otsuka's Abilify MySight, where the pill contains an ingestible sensor that records when the patient actually takes the drug each day, and some basic physiological info. Now, what was interesting about this is they said that by providing transparency of the data back to the patient, it not only improved medication adherence, they said something like 50 to 90% versus the traditional variant, but the CEO of Otsuka mentioned that the first 500 patients generated more data than the history of recorded clinical trials at the company. So this was really changing the way they had to think about how do they use data in their clinical environment. And this isn't an isolated incident. In fact, we're seeing a number of connected devices and therapies that are being approved as we speak, actually. Medtronic introduced the first FDA-approved artificial pancreas, where it automatically introduces insulin based on a specific algorithm that's constantly capturing data and learning from the patient themselves. Teva recently secured the approval of the first digital inhaler, the ProAir Digihaler. Works very similarly to the Abilify MySight pill, in which patients and physicians are provided with usage data to determine is the therapy being used safely and optimally. And it's not just about devices either. For example, Pear Therapeutics was the first to have a completely digital therapy approved for substance disorder, where the product itself is actually pure software. There's no pill, device, or anything else. And of course, we heard just a few months ago that Alexa skills are now HIPAA compliant, and drug makers, healthcare providers, and other players in the ecosystem, they're all working to build out capabilities that will allow consumers to do things like check prescriptions, find urgent care, schedule visits, and log and track their own health data. So all of these technology advances are accelerating the introduction of new forms of data that the industry has really never had to contend with in the past. And when we think about that subject of data, we're now seeing all of the largest technology players get involved in our industry. Now, I'm sure all of these are recognizable logos to the audience, but not necessarily in the healthcare and the life sciences space. But they're all moving there as well. For example, last year, Amazon bought PillPack for $1 billion. And the latest Amazon Alexa upgrade, like we talked about earlier, has these HIPAA-compliant skills now. Google has a longitudinal study division called Verily. Apple has the HealthKit API that's allowing users to share clinical health data via trusted apps. And Microsoft now has a partnership with Walgreens to explore digital health opportunities with their patients. What's interesting about this is that all of these players have built their empires on data. And while they're new to the healthcare and life sciences space, they're betting that the data will be a critical element to successful health outcomes in the future. And this goes beyond data that's being generated by the patient. The sales or the commercial world has never been more complex in terms of the number of data elements that can help drive a decision. If you think about all of the various groups that we interact with in a commercial organization, this includes everything from the HCP, hospitals and specialty hubs, various different patient groups and advocacy organizations, and of course third parties like the payers and the distributors that are involved in this in this ecosystem as well. Now, traditionally, engagement with all of those channels and individuals has revolved around personal or direct touch points, often managed by metrics like reach and frequency. But as we mentioned earlier, the number of digital touch points and the data associated with them has truly blown up over the past several years. And the one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for the modern HCP. So successful commercial teams are taking a more tailored approach to the HCP based on their preferences. And on that subject of HCP, for that matter, things are changing at the provider standpoint as well. In a recent survey, GSK actually found that 88% of physicians cite that one of their greatest challenges each day is spending enough time with patients. And Pharma Exec reports that the number of physicians that would be classified as rep accessible has been nearly cut in half in the past 10 years. So not only do we have the various HCP preferences that a rep needs to understand and manage to, but the amount of available time with a rep is getting shorter and shorter. So if you think about the situation where you have potentially multiple individuals from any given organization, whether they're sales teams or medical teams or other individuals engaging with the healthcare provider, and all of the various different indirect or digital touch points, a successful commercial organization needs to leverage data and AI to optimize that approach. So if you think about all of this together, you have these new technologies which are being introduced with new and rich data sets. You have external, real-world, and other engagement data sources which are being increasingly refined and made useful. And of course, the biggest players in traditional technology are all starting to make inroads in our space. So what does this mean for us as practitioners in the life sciences industry? Well, for one, I see the industry itself at an important inflection point where all of these forces are creating an environment where a new core competency around data needs to take hold in our organizations. And if you think about the major priorities of any given life sciences organization, that core competency is central, whether it's developing more personalized care that can ultimately save patient lives, whether it's modernizing some of the legacy business processes to improve things like manufacturing, supply chain, and distribution, or leveraging all of the various engagement data sources that optimize how our commercial teams go to market. So Qlik is uniquely positioned to help companies with this transition and journey. And if we look at the industry as a whole, we have over 1,200 life sciences customers across multiple disciplines in the industry, both traditional pharma and biotech, and of course the medical device world as well. And we have customers both large and small in the proprietary, the generic space, and all of the largest life sciences companies are now Qlik customers. A big part of this, of course, are the partnerships that we have in the ecosystem. Qlik not only partners with industry-focused vendors like IQVIA, Veeva, or Symphony Health, but we have a strong network of solution partners and technology partners that are all focused on this industry. So today I'm pleased to be sitting here with Infozone, who's going to be talking about their experience delivering Qlik in the life sciences industry. They're going to share a live solution that does a fantastic job at addressing some of the common challenges that we talked about earlier. And we're also going to hear from Vizlib, one of the top technology partners in the Qlik ecosystem. They are continually innovating and developing advanced visual analytics capabilities for the Qlik platform. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Infozone.
Excellent. Thank you, Jesse. It is amazing how the data landscape continues to grow and evolve in both size and complexity. It's no surprise to me that Qlik has become the premier partner in the life sciences industry. Hello, everyone. My name is Joel Ween, the Northeast Regional Manager here at Infozone. And first, I'd like to share a little about who we are as a company and why we believe our process works so well. Then, I'm going to jump into a brief demo of a sample app built using Qlik Sense and Vizlib. This app illustrates the true power of Qlik and how Vizlib takes design possibilities to the next level. So with that, let's dive in. Infozone is a Qlik partner comprised of a team of Qlik experts with award-winning designers and a focus on commercial ops and pharma. As you can see, the Infozone team is quite experienced in Qlik and commercial pharma operations, having worked with and supported over 25 commercial teams with an average of 18 years of Qlik experience on the senior management team. Let's dive into our approach. A typical development process allows users to provide feedback during UAT at the end of the development cycle, and this often leads to poor user acceptance and a bloated app that becomes cumbersome and overwhelming to navigate and manage. At Infozone, We believe users should be involved throughout the development process, providing input and feedback along the way. Our experience tells us this approach engages the users early and as a result increases the adoption rate at go live. And because users are active participants throughout the development process, our clients love to talk about their apps. They appreciate the flexibility of the tool and enjoy being involved in the build-out. They are proud to deliver such amazing solutions. We know the challenges faced by commercial ops. From business development to product launch, commercial teams are at the center of everything. And it is the power of Qlik that allows us to bring useful and actionable information to our clients without overwhelming their users. So here you can see a few examples that highlight how we leverage the power of Qlik to enable our clients to get accurate information quickly. From design, a team that knows Qlik and understands the nuances of pharma operations data, to the patient journey. We help customers understand their patient's journey, identifying potential hurdles that their patients may face when they're trying to obtain their products. Do they have access issues preventing them from treatment? Are you contracting with the right payers? Do patients face hurdles post-treatment with benefit investigations because prior auths aren't being done properly? Should you maybe consider using a hub to simplify your patient's journey? What about your call plan? Is your call plan built for success? Do your sales reps know the who, what, and why about your targeted customers? Are they delivering the right message when they find a new potential prescriber? Talking about prescribers, customer profiling is vital to understanding the makeup of your prescribers and their accounts. Of course, every team will interact with the customer in varying ways. Your sales team wants to look at your prescriber very differently than your market access or medical liaison team. As part of the commercial ops group, you understand that one size does not fit all. And then there's marketing. Your marketing ROI is very important. After investing your time and budget on materials and campaigns, do you see the return you were expecting? How do you measure success of an email campaign? Do you have bad email address data? Is your message being received and acted upon? All of these questions are being asked, and you are the one expected to have the answers. By combining the flexibility offered by Qlik Sense with the brilliant Vizlib visualizations, it is easy to understand why customers love this solution. Knowing what your customer is asking for and being able to deliver exactly what they need would be terribly difficult using any other solution. Qlik Sense and Vizlib allows Infozone to deliver outstanding products that people enjoy using. So let's look at some examples. So today, we are going through a marketing effectiveness app designed for the head of a marketing team at a specialty pharmaceutical company. In the dashboard here, we can see that our TRX volume, net sales, and budget spend using the Vizlib activity gauge to quickly visualize how the company is tracking towards their three primary goals. I quickly noticed that while we have exceeded our TRX volume goal, we are behind on reaching our sales goal. Of course, we are under budget, so there is still opportunity to spend more to drive up sales. As I move through the dashboard, I am able to see a top-level trend line comparing my TRX versus goal by month. And with the advanced analytics feature that Vizlib brings into the mix with their line chart, I am also able to get a feel for how my numbers are trending into future months. Am I on track to hit my numbers, or do I need to adjust my plan? And a great way to visualize how different specialties and prescriber segments are tied together, we leverage the native Qlik Sense Sankey chart. Of course, the client also wanted to have some flexibility within this Sankey chart that was a bit difficult to do using native Sense functionality. They wanted to change the focus of the Sankey chart depending on a selection. So to make this look clean and function as expected, we leverage the Vis Lib filter. again combining the native functionality, the Sankey chart, with Vizlib extensions to do exactly what the client wanted. In this example, if we change our focus to specialty group, we can see that primary care physicians are almost evenly split between behavior segments, with early adopters being the largest makeup of that group. And when you look over further from behavior segment to prescribing habit, you can see that those doctors are also scientifically driven. In another example, we are using Vizlib line charts to allow reference lines be added within the chart. And this is extremely useful for measuring performance of an email campaign. You can see here we have 3 different campaigns marked out on each of these 4 line charts, and subsequently can see the performance of each campaign and how it's measuring against its predecessor. This is also useful for things like speaker engagements, new product launches, national sales meetings, and any other type of major event that you could imagine. Here is another great example using a Vizlib combo chart with reference lines. This helps explain to the VP of Sales how the national sales meeting in August has an impact on sales, enforcing that activity does indeed drive sales. Qlik Sense also allows us to easily compare and look at different aspects of your data. Things like TRX per detail compared to target type over region. And in this example, we can see that while the West region has the highest TRX per detail on platinum targets, the Mid-Atlantic region, by contrast, has the best TRX per detail overall. This is important when measuring call plan success and making sure that your sales team understands the importance of adhering to the call plan and that activity against the right prescriber will absolutely drive sales. And finally, one last example of how Vizlib can broaden your design capabilities within Qlik Sense. Here we can see a sample of a dual-axis line chart, which allows us to compare trends of 2 metrics with wildly different sized data sets. On the left, we can see TRX compared to details from your field on the right side over the same time periods. Vizlib allows us to show these 2 very different sized metrics on the same chart, which easily compares trends for the same time period. With that, I would like to thank you all for joining us today and allowing us to share with you some of the great things Infozone has been able to deliver using Qlik and Vizlib together. And at this time, I would like to turn the mic over to our friends at Vizlib.
Thanks, Jesse, for the overview of Qlik for life sciences and pharma, and thanks, Joel, for taking us through the Infozone solutions and covering some of the why behind using Vizlib. Those are really good-looking apps, by the way. Hi all, I'm Joe Warbington from Vizlib, and I cover industry solutions. I may be a familiar face or voice to a few of you on the line, as I've spent the last 5 years or so at Qlik on the healthcare team and working in industry solutions. I still bleed green, but I am wearing a bit more Vizlib blue these days. What I want to do today is cover a little of the who, what, why, and how with Vizlib, and of course I'll be showcasing some of the wow with a few demos. We'll wrap with a shared Q&A with Infozone and Qlik to address any questions that have come in for any portions of the session today. Vizlib is the leading tech partner for value-added products for Qlik, and our packages of visualization extensions and capabilities are very feature-rich, they're highly customizable, and they're expertly supported. We're also a member of the Qlik Trusted Extension Developer Program. So being part of TED means that our extensions are rigorously tested for quality, for completeness, and security. And we're working with the folks at Qlik to do that. So they're built and tested to scale for your enterprise deployments of Qlik. We support all the versions and releases of Qlik Sense, and Vizlib also has access to the beta releases of Qlik. So we get our hands on the latest Qlik software, and we work to ready our extensions and products and make sure they're updated as soon as you update to the next version of Qlik. A little about where we're at and who we are. We have a global customer base of over 400 customers using Vizlib to enhance their Qlik Sense applications. We're covering all the verticals. I hail, as I said, from healthcare, and I did a fair bit in life sciences and worked with a few other verticals as well in my time in Qlik. But we have customers across every gamut and every vertical. Our customers are in 42 different countries, and we continue to expand that. And so with that, we have 34 Vizlib employees, and we're ever growing. I recently joined just in August, and there were many reasons that I joined, but one was just the scope, the breadth and depth of the Vizlib solutions, and I started to see it in many of the different customer sites that I've been working with, and began to kind of spin the wheels on what I could do with that. So we have 4 offices for Vizlib. My closest one's going to be in New York, but I do work from my home office in Madison, Wisconsin. And our team supports 8 languages. We speak many of the things out there. I would actually say it's 9 because we all speak the language of data as well. When we talk about the value of what Vizlib brings, I did mention a few of these already, but being feature rich, by that I mean we're adding functionality to Qlik Sense. We're adding some features, maybe things that you're used to from Qlik View Days or even other BI tools, and especially the chart types and visualizations, things that you just cannot build out of the box. With that, everything is highly customizable. All of our products and extensions give you complete control of every little inch, every little pixel of what's going on, the color, the shape, the size, the scope, how it gets interacted with. You name it, we give you the ability to edit that. And as I mentioned, you're supported with our experts, our technical experts speaking many different languages across the globe. Really what we want you to do is focus on what you're good at, which is solving business problems using data, not trying to build complex visualizations. We want to make that really easy for you to do. And with that, we have 4 main products as part of our product family. You probably have heard of Vizlib, and you saw some of the things from Joel around the Vizlib library of visualization extensions, 25 or so and growing, and we continue to enhance those extensions, and I'm going to show you some of those today. On the self-service side, some of you may be familiar with Climber and their wonderful extensions. We've built those out with that team. That acquisition was earlier this year. And so in the self-service kind of product set, we provide the toolings and the extensions that allow individuals to go in and get their view of the data that they need. Not super heavy on the visualization side, but it does complement the Vizlib library because you can use all those wonderful visualizations in the self-service mode. Really, it's the ad hoc reporting and the customization of what people will be able to do on their own for the self-service side. We also have broken out Vizlib Finance as a horizontal function and have some great capabilities there for P&L and balance sheets if that's a particular interest of yours. And really excited, our most recent product launch was around collaboration and bringing people and their data together to allow you to have comments and bookmarks right in line with the sheets that you're working on in Qlik Sense, the visualizations themselves, and integrations into platforms like Slack, Teams, and of course email. I want to get an alert. I want to be sent when somebody makes a comment on this thing to go out and find it. Rather than just sending a bookmark, give me that whole context of what's going on and drill me into that. And we'll show you a little bit of that today. With the Vizlib library, it's 25 visualizations and it's ever growing and enhancing in features. You saw Joel highlight a few of these extensions, these visualizations earlier in his demos. And you might be familiar with the Climber extensions as well. These wonderful and popular extensions were acquired and the development team joined Vizlib earlier this year. So we're continuing to build out these robust visualizations that are highly customizable, very feature-rich, and bringing new capabilities to your analytics. We're constantly updating these things and improving them with new features based on what our customers are requesting. And we're going to continue to build new visualizations as well. There are a few more on the roadmaps, and in other webinars that our team puts on, you can get a peek into our roadmap and where we're headed. And really, all this is an effort to make your Qlik Sense apps shine and showcase your data more effectively. So let's actually hop in and see some demos, more in the line of pharma and life sciences, hopefully, to show you some more things in addition to what Infozone showed a little earlier, to give you an idea of how Vizlib can work with your data. All right, let's jump in with a few quick examples here. With the vaccine adverse events application, I'm using some of the self-service components from Vizlib, allowing us to see visualizations in a compact mode here through our container object. And you can have some nice visualizations like the SAN key, for instance, that are interactive with our selection bar. So say all patients over the age of 65, we see which manufacturer of the vaccines flow into the particular genders, into the age groups, and a particular diagnosis here in the case of the patients passing away. What you see in the bottom, though, is allowing folks to get information that they see up here out into the format that they want to use it. And that could be through the creation of a report. So we can pick which filters or which particular dimensions we want, maybe a few of the particular measures, and immediately it starts building out a table for us. We can see which year. It'll break this out. Vizlib allows us to then take and convert these into, say, a pivot table really quickly, or even visualize the information provided we have the right metrics in place. And this is a really powerful element of self-service that we provide with some nice things like presets, allowing you to jump right into a report that's already been created for you, and you can simply export this to your next thing or move on with what you need. And that's one of the self-service elements that we provide. Next up, when we talk about things like real-world evidence, devices like the Apple Watch can help organizations track actual patient information. Maybe they enroll in a particular study. This happens to be my patient data, and I've tracked this over the course of a few years. We have the activity gauge reflective of what Apple has created, so you can really customize these things and make them tailored to your particular audience. And in this case, this would be great for folks that are very used to the Apple flow. Now, this fitness data is interesting, but what the Apple Watch or some other devices afford in recent years has been heart-related information through the use of an ECG type of monitoring that can monitor a patient's heart rate. And so here we see that information plotted out in a particular bar chart that has a lot more customization. The little hearts here are showing us the average heart rate. That line is showing us it overall, the little hearts for each particular day. And you can see all this robust information that's tracked on a daily basis when patients wear this device. Now that's all well and good, and it looks like they turned on some additional capabilities. We'll use the Vizlib calendar to go back and maybe look at everything for this last year to date. So with some quick filters in ranges, these are all customizable, you can have this very interactive calendar available. Now, this is telling me some interesting things, but there's always going to be contextual information that'd be really useful, like if a patient were in a study. So we can use capabilities to turn on additional annotations and reference lines. In this case, we see now when the patient began their study, was enrolled and began their study, and then after some number of days, the study was complete. Seeing this information in this one view allows you to see if the intervention was doing something. In this case, it does look like just prior, the patient was having some elevated heart rates particular days. They began the study, maybe they were in a different setting, and then afterwards you see their heart rate spiked again. using that information and annotations can be really helpful in conveying the story to your organization. Next up, we'll hop over to, I think, a very common system for folks in the life sciences, and that's from Veeva and the use of their Vault system and platform for handling all kinds of documents, presentations, and messages. In this case, we took an example from Qlik and modified it, and this might look very different than you're used to seeing with Qlik Sense, but we haven't built a mashup actually. We're not using that. We don't need a developer to do this. We're using the sheet menu object that's available in Vizlib to customize this, to create the sidebar, to have information along the top, and even customize the look and feel. You may also notice a few other things, and I want to point out. One being we have KPI objects, but I've customized them to do some different actions. So if we want to look at all the positive reactions, we simply click on the KPI, it makes a selection, and now we're looking at all the positive, maybe the neutral reactions. So providing a more seamless flow for the users to click on things as they get used to all the great features that are built into Qlik of doing searching and selections. But give them the boxes, guide them through the things that they need to do. And something I want to point out is the scatter plot. Now, just as the title indicates, this isn't just a normal scatter plot. What we have enabled is advanced analytics, and with a simple right click, we can turn on clustering, for instance, like k-means clustering, to find us some groupings of these particular messages that were delivered. So let's say we wanted to look at all those for some of these top accounts, and the k-means clustering is grouping these particular messages into organizations that we can use and finding the patterns in the data so that we don't have to hunt and peck. And maybe I'm really interested in this cluster 1. We'll again run this and cluster the information so that I can get into things. And this doesn't require any server-side extensions. It's just built right into the visualization, much like the forecasting in the line chart that Joel showed earlier. Now, one last thing on here, you may have noticed there's these little icons in our little floating bubble over here. This fun little guy is Vizlib collaboration. And using this, we can put comments on information, have some more interactive ways of looking at the data. So if I click on this particular comment, you see it applies the selection that was made at that time. There were 64 negative reactions. We really need to get this much lower. I sent this out to the team and let James, Christine, and Elaine know they're doing a great job with the highest number of positive reactions. Not only is it in the sheet itself, but we can make comments within the visualizations. So there are some things like the overall mix. You can put the comments within the visualizations or within the sheets. And something that is really useful is for folks that are not in Qlik all the time, which is sending comments. So we can do that by simply making a particular comment. Let's make some selections here. And we'll say, great job, team. Maybe pick a little GIF here, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, that looks good. And when we hit the share button, we have a couple of options. We can email it. You can send it to an approved list of emails in your organization, or if you're using something like Slack, which we use, we can pick a particular channel. We can attach images or data if we're looking at a particular visualization. In this case, we want the whole sheet to be highlighted. I'll add the comment and share it. It puts it into the commentary so that we can always get back to it. And then if I were to head over to Slack, here's our new comment, and I can simply click that and launch back into. So we can drive our team back to the particular selections that they had, the insight that was made, and really make this a more collaborative platform for your organization. So that's Vizlib collaboration with a number of different visualizations built in. Hope that was a nice quick overview. There's a lot more to Vizlib, obviously, and would love to give you a demo if you want to deep dive into anything, but definitely give it a shot yourself. to reiterate, why Vizlib? We're going to help drive that adoption of your analytics. Maybe it's bridging some missing functionality that you have from those other tools that are out there, including QlikView, things like containers or formatting tables, high levels of customization and actions, or advanced analytics, kind of bringing that right into the fold. We're going to help you with that. We want to improve the agility and speed so that you can get your analytics in the hands of your workforce much faster and with better adoption because they're going to want to use it more. It's in the same look and feel that they expect. It's more highly interactive. It's going to help you to build those shiny dashboards that have your branding, have your theming, and the customizations are going to allow you to make more presentable and very actionable dashboards so that people actually use the data and not just have that data floating around out there. And I think my favorite thing and why I really joined Vizlib, I'm not a heavy technical developer, but I have an eye for design, you could say, and maybe you have folks on your team too that they understand the business, but they're not going to go out there and code in HTML5 and CSS and JavaScript. You don't need any technical skills. If you can use Excel, you can use some of the drop-down menus, you can use Vizlib, and you can create some beautiful, gorgeous visualizations and dashboards. And we're coming to a city near you as part of the Qlik's Data Revolution Tour. I'm personally going to be joining the team at Vizlib in Chicago, Toronto, and I believe San Francisco. So make note of these dates and times in the cities, and hopefully we can meet you and show you some of the stuff in person. And it would be wonderful to have you come out, and we'll have some life sciences stuff to show, absolutely certain. You can stop wishing and you can start building today, really. It's really easy to get started. It's actually how I got started a couple of years ago with Vizlib. I just downloaded the extensions for free, had a trial of them, and really started to grow in my use of these advanced visualizations. You're going to be able to trial any of the products that we have out there, from the visualization library to the self-service components, even collaboration and finance. You can try these out for free in your organization and get started very quickly. So let's hop into the Q&A and take any questions that have come in from the audience.